Hey guys, it's Suzbikid here, and today I am going to be teaching you how to motion track 3D text using After Effects or Sony Vegas if you want, Boujou and Cinema 4D. And I'm going to show you the preview of what I did. It's on YouTube. It's better quality on there because this screen recorder isn't great, but I'll show you anyway. So this is what I did, and it's on YouTube, better quality on there, so check it out. I'll have the link in the description. So here it is. So as you can see, that is pretty cool. There's the motion tracked 3D text there. I'm not going to be showing you how to do them effects like this color correction, the zoom in and out, the motion blur, and the camera shake. I already have a camera shake tutorial. I will be uploading a zooming in and out tutorial like that as well. But let's get started on this because it can take quite a bit. So let's go straight into After Effects. Import your little cinematic. So there it is, or big cinematic if you have a big one. That's what she said. Sorry, I say that a lot sometimes. Okay, here it is imported, and as you can see, it's there. It's the same one with no effects on it. And what I'm gonna show you, what I'm gonna tell you is how to stop any problem when exporting the camera solve from Boujou to Cinema 4D. A lot of people have quite annoying problems with this. So did I. I spent about 5 hours non-stop trying to figure it out, and I'm gonna show you guys how to not get that problem in the first place. So I'm being pretty kind, I think. And as you can see, okay, so this is what happens. As you can see in this tutorial, in this cinematic, you can see that, like, say this area, it's in the cinematic, and now you can see, like, if I just go back a bit, you can see this stuff here, like these little pokey out bits. If I go along, they go out of the cinematic, and then if I go along a bit like this around here, you can see that they're there, like over there. If I just go forward a bit, they're over there, and basically that's fine, because if something goes out and comes back in on the cinematic, that's fine. But if something like this happens, where the cinematic and it goes past and something comes in the way, say it can even be a really thin pole, but at one point it will cover like something up. So as you can see, the chickens aren't there, and when I go back, the chickens are back, and all of this area is back, and so is like most of this area. If anything like that happens, it's gonna ruin the whole like motion tracking. So what you want to do is cut out that little bit. If it's in the middle, I would really recommend you record a new cinematic without, like, say a pole coming in the way like halfway through or anything, because that creates a huge problem when motion tracking it in Boujou. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna cut out this bit, so to about there. So there's no bucket, so yeah, there's no bucket there, and I'll just take out this little black bit there. And I'll explain later in Boujou when we're camera solving it, then I will explain fully why it happens. So after you've done that, you want to go, if you're in After Effects, go Composition, Add to Render Queue. On Output Module, like, click on the Lossless, and on Format, change it from AVI or whatever it is to PNG sequence. You can put it as JPEG sequence, TIFF sequence, but I prefer PNGs because they're usually the better quality. So hit OK. And now Output to, this is important and not important at the same time, but so click on what it says, and so just go to your desktop, and what you want to do, wherever you save it, no matter where it is, you want to create a new folder and just name it anything like sequence or something, and open the folder, because what this is going to do, it's going to save every single frame as one whole picture. And in this cinematic I'm gonna have about 700 or 800 frames, so that means 800 pictures, and you don't want that all over your desktop or all over in your documents or something. So you want to create a separate folder for it, and just hit save there. And what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, this is really important as well, really important. You want to note down this frame rate here. So as you can see, this is 60 frames per second. Yours can be at, like, it doesn't matter what it is, but you want to keep it the same, because we're going from like After Effects to Boujou to Cinema 4D, and maybe like After Effects again to edit it and stuff. You want to keep the same frame rate throughout the whole thing. So as you can see, it says 60 frames per second here. You want to remember that, okay? And now just hit render, and as you can see, it's going to start rendering. It doesn't, well, I don't know how long it's going to take for you, because it depends how big your frame rate is, how high quality the video is, how long your cinematic is. I already have this done, so I'm just going to stop it. You just do it until it finishes. I'm not going to bother saving that. So after it's done for you, I'll just delete that as well. As you can see, I have mine here, and I have 789 pictures here. So that's quite a lot, and I wouldn't like that all over my desktop or something. So after you've done that, and you have all your sequence, image sequence, you want to go into Boujou. I'm using Boujou 5. You can use Boujou 4 for this, and it won't make a difference. It will still be perfectly fine. What you want to do is import your sequence. So hit import sequence up here, and just find where you saved it. So mine's here in this folder, and you want to click on the very first one, so straight under this folder, and the very first one. Or if you haven't cut anything off it from the beginning, it will say 0000. But as you saw when I was in After Effects, I cut off the beginning bit, so it started at 70 frames. But as long as it's the one straight under, just make sure it's the first one and you'll be fine. So hit open, and now this is the important part: frame rate. It's you want to put it to 60 frames per second. Well, for me, I want to put it at 60 frames per second. You put it at whatever it said in After Effects or wherever you saw it. You want to put it at exactly the same frame rate, and hit apply. And as you can see, it's there. So just click close. If you're in Boujou 4, you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have the frame rate option. To do that, after you've imported your sequence, you want to hit edit camera, and you will have your frame rate option over here, and then hit apply and then close. That's only if you're in Boujou 4. Otherwise, just do what I did if you're in Boujou 5. And after you've done that, you want to hit track features and make sure it's on the same sequence, and make sure it's all frames, and click start like that, and it will start tracking every single feature of every single frame. So basically it's tracking every point on one image, and then when it sees the other image, it sees where that exact same point is, except moved a bit. So I'm just going to let this do what it needs to do, and I'll come back after it's done. Okay, but guys, I'm back, and as you can see, it's all tracked all the features pretty nicely. Okay, and now that that's done, and now what you want to do after that, you want to hit the button under track features, which is camera solve, and you want to make sure it's all frames and you're on the correct sequence, and you want to hit this optimize camera path smoothness there. You want to make sure that's checked as well, all frames, and hit start. And now this is where the main problem kicks in. This shouldn't take too long though, guys. This is where the main problem kicks in for most people. If you have something like I said, like say the bucket covering up and then letting something back, like let the view back in again, or say if you have a pole in the way and the pole covers up the main part of the cinematic, and then you can see the main part of the cinematic afterwards again. If that happens, it's gonna create about more than one camera solve, and you can't merge camera solves together. You can only have one camera solve, and if that happens, that like where you have the bucket in the way or something like I showed you in After Effects, that's gonna create about 4 camera solves. I spent ages just trying to figure out what was the problem, and I realized I had 4 camera solves and I couldn't merge them all together into Cinema 4D. So this shouldn't take as long, guys. It might be really jumpy, it might even say not responding like it did just a bit earlier, but I won't I'll just pause it and come back when it's done. Okay, so now that's done. Now as you can see, all them red crosses and yellow lines have been replaced by these blue and yellow dots. And what they basically mean, the difference between the colors is that the yellow dots are the perfectly motion tracked ones, like really amazingly. But all these dots are motion tracked, as you can see, like they're all staying in the same place. But the yellow dots are the more better ones, and the blue ones are good, but not as good as the yellow ones. So you can see that's pretty nicely done. And as you can see, if you click here, I only have 1 camera solve. If I kept that bucket in it and where it covered it up and came back in, I would have had 4 camera solves. I tried it with the bucket and I did have 4 camera solves, and that's basically you being screwed. And so that's why I told you to cut out anything like that or create a new cinematic. So now what you want to do in Cinema 4D, you want to be able to tell Cinema 4D a clear floor plane, like the floor. And to do this, we're going to hit scene geometry. And what we're going to do, we're going to select points and tell Boujou where the floor is, so that when we export it in Cinema 4D, Cinema 4D will be able to know where the floor is and where to motion track it in. And to do this, go to about halfway on your timeline by getting this blue line and just going about halfway. And it's good if you have a kind of clear place here. If you don't, it's not the end of the world, but it's a bit better if you have a bit of a clear floor plane. This isn't even the best clear floor plane ever. It doesn't have to be exactly in the middle of the timeline. You can just move around a bit. So I'll do it to about there, like that. And now you want to be able to see this, and what you want to do is click add coordinates from hint, hit that, and you want to change this type to the Z axis, like that. And the Z axis is the one going up, like vertical in a way, but going up and down, like up and down the cinematic, like as you can see the direction of my mouse and moving. That's the Z axis. So you want to select 2 points which are in line going up and down like that. So I'm just gonna do this like not the best ever. So what I'll do, I'll connect, say, this point here. So sorry about that, I don't know what just happened there, but it doesn't matter. You click on this little point here, so just click on 2 points which are in line. So click on the first one and it should turn green with a little number, and hold down Control and click on the other one in line, and as you can see they're both green and both in line. So that's the Z axis. And what you want to do is hit connect to selected, and as you can see they're both connected. What you want to do now again is hit click add coordinates from hint again and change the type to X axis, and this time it's going horizontal like that. So again you want to choose 2 different points this time which are going horizontal. So I will choose this one and this one. As you can see it's not perfectly horizontal. It doesn't matter too much, so I'll just select these 2, so holding down Control and selecting both of them, that's a bit more in line. So now them 2 are selected, and click connect to selected and hit add coordinates from hint again, except this time you're going to change it to origin, and you want to choose relatively in the middle. So I chose these 2 points and these 2 points. There's none in the middle. I'll just choose about this one. As you can see it's in between them 2, and it's roughly in between them 2. So I'll just hit the one, you're only meant to select one, and click connect to selected. And now what you want to do is hit update coordinates frame to frame. Yeah, just make sure, just double click and make sure it's done, and you can just cross that off. And if you hit this now in Boujou, we can test if it's motion tracked well. If you hit 3D, as you can see, and hold down Control, Shift, Shift, and click somewhere, and you can just drag it around like this. And as you can see, this is the camera path here. So as you can see, that's probably around, like, let's see, that's like the clear floor plane and where I've motion tracked it. If I go back into 2D, yeah, see, it's about that area. What you can do to test if it's motion tracked well, click Add Test Objects, and it's going to add a ladybird. You can change to whatever you want, like an arrow. I'll just keep it on the ladybird. And if you just run through this, you can see that the ladybird is pretty, like, epically motion tracked to the ground and the cinematic. And that's that. Now if you want to get rid of it, just click delete, and just click delete on that, like that. It doesn't matter, even if you still have it there, it's not gonna come in the picture. So after you've done that, that's all done. You've motion tracked it, you've told Cinema 4D and Boujou where a floor is, and that's done in Boujou. Now all you have to do is click export, and then hit export camera solve, and what you want to do is export type to Cinema 4D. And this is important as well, scale seen by, and change that to 100. Make sure that is 100, otherwise it can get a bit dodgy. And just select where you want to save it, so click browse. I'll just save it to my desktop, and I'll name it tut for tutorial. Click save, just hit save there, and it should save it. You don't need Boujou anymore, so, and as you can see, it's there. So what you want to do is just open up Cinema 4D. I should have opened this before. My laptop's not really that good, and with this screen recorder it's even worse. So just wait for this to load. If you have any questions, like say if something doesn't work, or you want me to cut out the little, like say you have a problem with your cinematic, if you just send it to me, like as a link or a download link, I'll download it and I'll try to get back to you and tell you what the problem is on your cinematic. Maybe you have too much camera shake on it, or too much blur, so that's another problem. Try and get the cinematic as clear and as smooth as possible. So now Cinema 4D's opened up, click File, Open, and open the camera solve you saved. So it's here, and just open it. And this time on scale you want it to 10, and if you're in Cinema 4D R13 or have centimeters, just keep it on centimeters. On Cinema R12 or R11, I don't think it has that, but if you're on Cinema 4D R13 like me, just make sure it's on centimeters and hit OK. And now you can see the camera solve is in Cinema 4D. If you just run through, all of these little black dots are motion tracked in a way. Basically these are following the floor are following how your camera moved on your cinematic, like that. So that's it. And as you can see, the floor is on the floor, because sometimes your floor can end up going right up into the sky, and when you add text to it, it's really confusing and it doesn't work properly and it mucks up completely. That's why you told Cinema 4D and Boujou where the floor was by adding the scene geometry. So you just want to extend this timeline up so you can see the whole thing. That's how the camera moves in the cinematic. What you want to do now is, so you can see the picture in the, like, your cinematic, just go onto background. Interface is a bit different in R12. It doesn't matter, you'll be able to work your way around it. So once you've got your background there, double click in the texture area or material area, or you can just go create new material. So just do that and double click on your material, and on color you want to go click on the texture tab and click load image, and if you go to where your sequence is, like the exact same sequence when you rendered it out and imported into Boujou, go onto the same sequence and click on the first image again like you did in Boujou and click open. And if this comes up, this image is not in the project search path, do you want to create a copy of the project location, just hit no on that. So now you can see, but that's only the one image. You want the whole cinematic to be in the background. To do that, if you double click on the little image here like that, and if you go into the animation tab up here and go and type in your frame rate, remember it's got to be the same as you put it in as Boujou and in After Effects. After Effects it was 60, I put it at 60 in Boujou, so it's got to be 16 here. Is there, and if you hit calculate, you'll be able to see all your frames there. And if you just cross that off, now it will have the whole animation of the cinematic in the material. So if you just apply that to your background, you now be able to see that it's all in like that. So you can see the background like that. And if you saw in my preview of it on YouTube, or in the one I showed you in this tutorial earlier, it's better quality on YouTube. So I've said that loads now. So as you would have seen that there was some shadowing. To do that, you want to go on to add floor object and go onto floor, and you can just move this to about there. And after you've done that, apply the same, because now say you've added the floor, and if you render it out quickly, you can see that like this is basically the floor area covering up the background. You don't want that to happen. So what you do, you apply the same material to the floor, and click on the little material up there, and on projection change it from flat to frontal, so make sure that's frontal. And now what you do, you right click on the floor and then go to Cinema 4D tags and then go to Compositing, and now you get this, and you want to uncheck self-shadowing and check compositing background. So now as you see, when you render it out, there's no floor. If this, like if these little bars come up on the side, forget about that. That's not going to be rendered. So that's just there because it's there. It's just there. So don't worry about that if that's there. So now that's done. The floor will let you add shadowing. If you don't have the floor, you won't be able to add shadowing. So that's there like that. Now what you want to do is add your text. So if you go add MoGraph, MoText, and I will. Computer's lagging again. But just wait. Wait a bit. I'll just pause when this comes back to life. Oh no, I don't have to pause. Yay. Okay. So now that's done. Just change the text to whatever you want. So I'll just put it as Suzbikid again. Like that. Change your font to whatever font you want. Oh my god. Whenever I record, this always lags so much. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, I haven't made a beatboxing video in quite a while now. I really should. I'll go up to this one called Batman for Forever, something like this. This is the same font I used in my preview, and you can just pump up the depth to about 80 or whatever depth you want. I like 80, so that's quite good. Set it to wherever you want by like checking where it is, so that's all right there. Just going through this whole thing. So if you go to about halfway, if you just render it out, you can see it's like you can't see the chickens. The main cinematic, oh, wrong thing. Make sure you're selected on your MoText. On the main cinematic, I chose this one because of the epic dancing chickens. The dancing chickens are like amazing. So yeah. So just put that to about where you want it. So you can just take your time. I'm just doing this quite roughly again. So now if you just go back to the beginning, so that's about fine for me. If I just move this floor a bit over, like so, the text is around in the middle of the floor like that. And what I'm gonna do is add some really basic quick shadowing. You can add any of the shadowing you want, but remember you need the floor to be able to shadow it. So I'll just add a light, and I'll just move this up back there, maybe a bit more up like that. And on the shadow tab, on shadow, change it from none to shadow map soft, and as you can see you get some shadows like that. If you don't get any shadows, that's because you just need to lift the text up a bit, just a bit off the floor, but not too much. And now what you want to do is, like, just to light up the front of the text, you just add another light, or just add it about there, and again just shadow map soft on the shadow tab. So now if you render it out, that's alright shadowing. It's not the best. You can add all the shadowing you want, and that shadowing is not too bad actually. But as you can see, the text is pretty dull and boring there. Now what you can do, just create the new material. And what I like to do when I motion track in cinematics, especially for like games like this, I like to when I choose the color like that, I actually like to choose a color of the ground so it kind of camouflages. So what I would do, I would click choose screen color, and I would choose a color like say around there like that, and I'll click OK. So as you can see, it's around the same color. But now what you want to do, just to add some reflection and stuff, uncheck specular, on reflection go to, and then on texture go to Fresnel there, and change the brightness down to about 80 or 70, and change the mix strength down to about the same. And you can just spend your time creating your material. I like to create the text around like near the same color of the floor, but you don't have to. You can set it to whatever you want, and as you can see, that looks quite cool. And if you actually just play it through, you can actually see that the text is actually motion tracked perfectly, literally perfectly, to the cinematic or whatever you have. And after you've rendered that out, like, just click render, get some peanuts, eat whatever you want, and then what you can do, you can go into After Effects and add all the effects you want after. If you do it before, like add some blur or color correction, it can muck up the tracking features and camera solving in Boujou, so you want to do that after. Okay, that's the tutorial, guys. So after you've rendered, you can just add all your effects and stuff, like I've already said. That's the tutorial, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment. If you have any questions, just ask, and if you want a tutorial, just message me. And this has been Suzbikid giving you a 3D motion tracking tutorial. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.